Was their revenge justified? That is what we're going to be talking about in this video, okay? And understand this, bro. In all of media, the revenge trope is, it's so common, it's a trope. I'm not even kidding. I think revenge, if you actually went historically, is like a top 5 like most popular templates for telling a story, because it's something inherently we all understand. We've all been wronged by somebody and we want to get our get back, okay? There's plenty of stories that aren't even fictional of people getting their get back, and if this does well, maybe we'll cover some of those. But in this video, I want to go over stories and people getting revenge. Everybody from Talion from the Shadow of Mordor series, to Ellie and Abigail from the Last of Us series, to, of course, Doomslayer from the Doom series. And I'm going to be ranking them on how justified I believe their revenge was. Because I'm just going to be frank with you, bro. Some of y'all went a little bit too far. I'm just going to admit it. I think Kratos went a bit too far. And anybody who doesn't think that, I'm sorry, bro. You don't understand the amount of damage Kratos caused. It's like a comic, like, we'll cover that in a second, but that is going to be this video. If you enjoy this at all, please consider a like, comment, and subscribe. We're trying to get to 500,000 subscribers before the end of the year. That is the goal. We actually are about to reach 300,000. I'm like really hyped about that, and honestly, you know what? I'll be sappy near the tail end of this video. But thank you for everybody who's getting me close. We're like 5K away, and that's absolutely insane at the time of making this, and I just want to say thank you for that. But before I go all sappy, let's get into the video. Let's go. Talion. Yeah, okay. Now to give you the bit of the groundwork on Talion's little story here, okay? Talion was a ranger at the Black Gate. The Black Gate is essentially around the border of Mordor, and during the time of The Hobbit, where Sauron was able to come back into semi-physical form. That's another thing. He did have some form on Earth other than the big red eye that's stated more in the books. But in the games, it's much more of his presence came back, and he led an army of Uruks to the Black Gates, and they slaughtered all of the knights of the Black Gates of Gondor, and the one that was left over was Talion. Talion, before he was, from this realm, watched his son and his wife get iced in front of him by the most loyal people to Sauron. But the moment that he gets iced, he has his body possessed by the spirit or the ring wraith of Celebrimbor, the ring forger. There's a whole bit of lore on who Celebrimbor is, but all you need to know is that Celebrimbor made the Rings of Power, and he has beef with Sauron for very similar circumstances, and they essentially do a good old team-up session, and then they go on to murk literally thousands of orcs over the course of decades. But, you know what, maybe not just Celebrimbor, because Talion and Celebrimbor had a little bit of a splitting of the boy band of revenge, and that's the whole thing, and maybe I'll do like a little video essay on why I really do appreciate the story of Shadow of Mordor and Shadow of War, but that's not going to be in this video, and in this video, I'm just going to be talking about revenge! And I'm going to be real here, dog. Talion had literally every right to crash out, bro. It was kept relatively contained. His vengeance was pretty much only against orcs and uruks, okay? And we all know orcs and uruks, they don't count as people in the world of Lord of the Rings. That's not me saying that. I'm sorry. Bro, actually, you know what? Let's go down this really quick, bro. Tolkien, orcs and uruks are meant to be a stand-in for Germans. I don't know if anybody didn't know that, but, like, that's what Tolkien wrote them for. And Tolkien had such hilarious beef with Germans, he didn't even view them as full people. Dude, Tolkien was on some timing, man. That is a man that had so much trauma from his conflict that he was like, you know what, bro? Germans ain't people, my man. But that's a whole other thing. So, in the world of Lord of the Rings, they're basically not even people. And Talion is spending decades massacring them all the way up until he becomes a ring wraith and then gets freed. And then he goes walking off into the sunset. But all of this starts essentially because he wants to avenge his child and his wife. And I'm going to be real here, dog. We all have that masculine urge to protect here and there. And I'm going to be real here, just like it. Brother, I'm sorry. All of y'all already have a bleed-out location already in your subconscious. There's a lot of you guys that don't want to admit it, but there's a few of you that 100% have a fantasy of, well, man, I really hope nothing bad happens to my wife and son. But if anything did, I am going to take revenge. Y'all don't want to admit that. But I know some of you have that, bro. I'm sorry. It's like the grown-up equivalent of like, oh yeah, dude, I'm chilling out at school, but if there was a threat, I'd be able to take him out, bro. Like, I'm sorry, that's a thing. That is a thing. You're not gonna gaslight me into thinking I'm the only one that thinks kind of like that. I'm going to put this, honestly, justified. Completely justified. He actually kept it relatively contained in his fury. Very few casualties, and I am going to be ranking that in here, and I'm going to put it in justified. Abby from The Last of Us. We're going to do Abby and Ellie back-to-back, just for the sake of the video. Abby is 100% justified for taking out Joel. And you know what, bro? I'm going to hit you with this hot take right here. Abby is more justified to take out Joel than Ellie is to take out Abby. And if you think that's a hot take, you didn't understand the game. I'm just going to be real with you, you didn't. It's part of the storytelling of the game, but the game doesn't tell that. It doesn't give you that moral all that well. But at the end of the day, listen, I've already yapped about Last of Us 2 and my problems with that story. Let's just talk about the revenge aspect of it. I want you to think about this, bro. Abby wants revenge on one person, okay? One person. She only wants to take out Joel because Joel took out her dad and many other people that were just trying to do their jobs. Abby, with a group of her homies, come into this community and, well, they befriended Joel, and then she found out that who he was and they betrayed him. I'm sorry. At the end of the day, would I do the same thing? Yes. I'm just going to be blunt with you. Yes, I would probably do the same thing if I am in Abby's position here, okay? Abby iced Joel. And then Ellie comes in and sees the complicated part in this entire situation because she doesn't want to be a hypocrite and ice Ellie, because if he were to get rid of Ellie, now we're in a situation where it's like, ooh, I just iced an innocent person. However, you can make the argument that if Abby just did it and just got rid of Ellie right then and there, her friends would still be alive. Brother, Abby didn't go far enough. Brother, she didn't go far enough, technically. If I'm just going to be real here, dog. And then I'm going to contrast this with what Ellie did. But Abby is 100% justified in her pursuit of vengeance towards Joel. 100%. And now we're going to cover the exact opposite. Ellie from The Last of Us. She is justified in the same way that, hey, oh, yeah, see, you did get wronged, 100%, I get that. But at the same time, the amount of collateral damage there was for, your revenge trumps literally anything that Abby did. Let me explain this to you, bro. Under the, how this works, okay? If you believe Ellie's justified to do everything that she did, I want you to understand this. Every single person that Ellie iced throughout the entirety of that game, their loved ones are just as justified to go for revenge. Okay? I want you to think of all the people that were just doing their job and defending their turf, got decimated by Ellie because Ellie was trying to get revenge on just a few people. Okay, I think Ellie's justified to take revenge on Abby and a few of her friends. I get that, 100%. She is not justified to take out people that were not involved and probably didn't even know. Not at all. If you disagree with that, I would love to hear your counterpoint. Ellie was not justified to take out just the average person who was chilling because, oh yeah, one person in our group did something that I didn't even know they did. They weren't all in on it. And understand, that's part of the point of the story, okay? But saying, well, Ellie and Abby are both equally justified in wanting revenge, yes. But Ellie goes so much farther than Abby does. I need you to understand this. If Abby did what Ellie did with the same amount of bloodlust, it would have stopped it from ever happening. All Abby had to do was take out Joel and Ellie, and there would be no problem. There would be no witnesses, okay? But because Ellie strolled in, took out every single person in her group, all of her friends, except for her, she actually caused the situation to be way worse than if Abby just came in and... dude, and again, Abby not icing Ellie when they were in the theater is still one of the dumbest things that I've ever heard. Get out of here, learn your lesson. No! 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 What are we doing? I'm sorry. Ellie, a bit much. A bit much. I'm sorry, a bit much. Yeah, does anybody... No, nobody disagree with that. Scorpion from Mortal Kombat. Now, I understand there's tons of different... There's now two... Actually, there's 3 Scorpions in the lore of Mortal Kombat. But to give you the quick lore dump of Scorpion. Scorpion's from a ninja clan called the Shirai Ryu, okay? And they are a clan known as Earth's Defenders, okay? Bada bing, bada boom, ba ba ba. There's another ninja group called the Lin Kuei. The Lin Kuei are like the... think of like the blue version of the Shirai Ryu to keep it simple, okay? Well, the Scorpions clan, they were the ones that were going to go into the Mortal Kombat tournament to defend Earthrealm. But there was this evil guy that came in called Quan Chi. And Quan Chi was like, I ain't going to let that slide. I need to get rid of all the Shirai Ryu. So this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to pretend that I am a member of the Lin Kuei known as Sub-Zero. And I'm going to go in and I'm going to get rid of all of the Shirai Ryu and take out Hanzo Hasashi's entire family, because Hanzo was the strongest of the Shirai Ryu, okay? So what happens is that Sub-Zero takes him out, surprise attacks him. And then Hanzo Hasashi goes to what is essentially Hell, or the Nether Realm, which is Quan Chi's realm, okay? So he goes down there, gets tormented a little bit, and then he breaks out and then strolls up to Quan Chi and is like, I want my vengeance. I wish to come back and take out the leader of the Lin Kuei. And then Quan Chi's over here like, okay, this was a part of my master plan the entire time because I pretended to be the leader of the Lin Kuei. Because what I wanted you to do is I wanted you, the strongest of the Shirai Ryu, to go against the Lin Kuei and take out their strongest people. That way it'll render Earthrealm completely defenseless in the Mortal Kombat tournament. So Quan Chi allows him to be oh my goodness, the contestant from Netherrealm, because all the realms get their own... No, actually, it's Earthrealm and then Outer Realm. So Netherrealm is kind of like a portion of that. So Quan Chi's like, yo, Scorpion, I want you to take out the leader of the Lin Kuei, which is at this point... Oh my goodness, I'm blanking out. It's Sub-Zero, but it's the first Sub-Zero, not the second Sub-Zero. So what happens is Hanzo Hasashi goes in, he's Scorpion now, he has all these Netherrealm powers, it goes and blitzes through the tournament and takes out Sub-Zero, well, the first Sub-Zero won, and then takes him out, and then he becomes Noob Saibot. It's a whole thing. We might have to do a Mortal Kombat lore, okay? But the point that I'm trying to make here, dude, the only reason why Scorpion is kind of evil or like did something that was unjustified is because he was tricked by Quan Chi to take out the wrong person for his family's unaliving. And I think after all of that, low-key, I'm gonna be real, that's fair. That's fair game. Does he kind of go overboard here and there? Yeah, but it's not to the level of a bit much. He came in, he meant business, yeah, he took out some innocent people, but I can understand why he did it, and then he did end up icing Quan Chi later on in the arc. So I'm going to put it in fair. Red Hood. Okay, so Red Hood is Jason Todd, and Jason Todd is the second Robin. It's Dick Grayson, Jason Todd, Tim Drake, and then Damian Wayne. There's a few that are in conjecture in between, but Jason Todd is the second Robin. Okay, so Jason Todd, the second Robin, had a family that abandoned him, and then later on, as he's Robin, kind of doing his Robin thing, he gets a note from his mom. Okay, the note from a mom is actually from the Joker, and the Joker takes in Jason Todd and then beats him into a paste with a crowbar and then blows him up. And then Batman was unable to save him, and what happens later is that Jason Todd gets resurrected in the Lazarus pit, and it makes him slightly insane. So Jason Todd gets resurrected, becomes the Red Hood, and the Red Hood comes in and starts absolutely icing all these villains. I'm sorry, I will stand on this, I'll say this right now. Batman's no icing rule is one of the dumbest things in fiction. And what I mean by it's one of the dumbest things is that it's dumb, and it's dumb that other people don't see how bad it is. No, the Batman's no rule, okay, does not make any sense at all. No. You should be getting rid of the Joker. There is no amount of proto-ethics you can do to justify keeping Joker alive. Okay? You are actively prolonging this issue and causing more and more people to get... Yes, I'm sorry. Let me ask you a question. If the law of Gotham dictated that Joker had to go out in the penalty, right? Okay, get iced in that penalty. Is Batman now justified in taking him out? Well, yeah. What type of justice are you listening to? The corrupt courts of Gotham? Or, like, what would actually work for the people of Gotham? The cold-hearted truth is a lot of the people that Red Hood got rid of, their punishment should have been that regardless. Now, I think Red Hood is the hero that Gotham needs, and then Batman is like the cool, like, brother, okay, well, Batman, I was like, here's the problem. First off, Batman's no icing rule is meant to be flawed because Batman in and of himself is just as mentally disturbed as a lot of the villains that he's going up against. That's part of the fun of Batman. And Red Hood is phrased as this vigilante, but Red Hood is a solution that Batman doesn't want to go to because this solution, like, goes straight into his very core, because if he were to accept that Red Hood is right, it would mean that Batman is responsible for everything. And I think at the core, that's the problem that they have. And I think Batman's... And brother, they have to sew off Red Hood's, like not just justification, but his way of thinking in the worst possible way, just so people can kind of sympathize with Batman. And I'm sorry, Red Hood is 100% justified, my man. I'm sorry. I think a lot of the stuff he does is acceptable cost. The only one that I don't agree on is if you're looking at, like, Batman Arkham Knight. Him being Arkham Knight, not fair. But Red Hood, acceptable cost. I'm sorry, bro. Acceptable. Kratos. So Kratos, understand, perfectly justified in hating the Greek gods. Completely justified, okay? He got done so hilariously dirty by literally every single one of his cousins, his uncles, everybody, even his cousin did him dirty, okay? Zeus straight up threw this man to the slaughter because of a prophecy, and he unwittingly caused the prophecy to happen. The problem that I have with Kratos destroying the entirety of Greece for the average person and causing, like, an untold amount of life lost is one of those things where it's like, okay, I need God of War fans to understand that, like, Kratos feels guilt for what he did in Greece. And it's not because he feels bad what he did to the gods. No, he doesn't feel bad with that. But the collateral damage that he caused by overthrowing the Greek pantheon is something that he feels so guilty about that he doesn't even want to get involved at all with the atrocities that the Norse gods have done. And you're approaching it like how Kratos deals with the Norse gods, like he doesn't want to deal with it. And even when he does, he just wants to go on his journey. He doesn't want to bother anybody. And then you look into how he dealt with the Greek gods, and that is every single person is getting ice today. Okay? No, Kratos is meant to be, he did a bit much back in his day. I ultimately think it's fair, but it's still arguably a bit much. It's on, like, that cusp right here. But I am going to put it in a bit much. In comparison to Scorpion only really took out combatants. Kratos Revenge took out a ton of people that were literally not involved at all. And I'm going to put it in a bit much. John Wick. John Wick is one of those movies where there's just no other way to cut it. It is a revenge story. It is like revenge, corn on the cob, if you know what I'm saying, my man. That is what John Wick is. John Wick is an international retired assassin for essentially the Illuminati. And he retired, and then his wife passed, and he was unable to have children because I think there's like a medical thing done with him where you can't have children. And then he got a dog from his wife that departed. And then some people came in to rob him, and they got rid of his dog. And then they took his car. And then John Wick decides, okay, well, my only purpose of living is now taken away from me. So you know what? I'm going to return as Baba Yaga John Wick. And I'm going to get rid of you, your friends, your cousins, your mom, your dad, every single person involved. I'm going to purge the entire system because you just won't let me retire. And then from there, it leads to one thing to another. He breaks a few rules, and then they go to get after him. And then essentially he takes on, like, just the heads of the table, like, internationally. That's essentially what he does. And here's the thing, bro. Like, they are all comically evil. Like, everybody that John Wick is going up against is the most stereotypical evil, no real morally gray. They are just the Illuminati and the League of Assassins put together. And, yeah, that is what John Wick did for a dog. Oh, well, it was for a dog. I get it, but the dog was meant to mean something a bit more. And first off, I think it is an acceptable cost, and he kept it relatively contained. Didn't really take out any civilians. I'm going to put it in acceptable cost, and I would even put it as slightly more acceptable than even, like, Red Hood. John Wick would agree with Red Hood, by the way. John Wick would 100%. John Wick, Talion, Abby, Scorpion, all of them would agree with Red Hood, by the way. Guts. Yeah, Guts is 100% just, not even just to be mad at, like, Griffith, but, like, to be mad at life. This man was born out of a hanging body from a gallows tree and was brought up in a mercenary band where he lost his mother figure due to illness, and then was abused by his father and given to a man named Donovan for a night. I'm sorry, I just hit you with all of that, but that's essentially the beginning of his story. And then Guts has to take out his father figure because his dad tries to take him out in his sleep, and then he joins a boy band, or like the Band of the Hawk, where this femboy named Griffith low-key is attracted to him, and then he found a baddie named Casca that he's really attracted to. And then one thing leads to another. Griffith gets captured, gets absolutely obliterated for like a year, and then Casca falls in love with him like crazy, and then they free Griffith from being, tormented for over a year, and then out of nowhere, Griffith activates the Antichrist ritual where demons get summoned, and then all of his homies get eaten by demons, and his girl gets Griffithed, and he loses an eye and an arm. I don't care what literally any of y'all say, okay? Guts is 100% justified to take all his revenge on Griffith. And part of the story of it is how far is Guts willing to go and still be him, okay? And there's this cool duality set between Guts and Griffith. And, like, they are two completely different characters, but the core is morality and ambition. And when morality becomes a limiter for ambition, do you break your own morality, or are you loyal to your ambition? What are you going to cling to? Morality or ambition is essentially the core story of Berserk, if we're really going to look between Guts and Griffith. And, Guts does kind of go hard. But I'm going to be real with you. There's only a few things that Guts does that I think is just completely unjustified. And I'm going to be real here, dog. Like, when it comes to his revenge, burn this world to the ground, bro. This entire world has to go. Burn it all down, my man. The Doomslayer. I've talked about the Doomslayer a lot. Yes, okay. I made an Iron Lung lore video, and y'all were like, "Where's the Doom lore, brother?" I'm sorry. I want to do a lore video to warm up a little bit before I do like a big lore video like Doom. But to give you the quick lore dump on Doomslayer, Doomslayer comes from a reality, a dimension that took place in the first original Doom games, and then what essentially happened at the all of that is that Hell converted everybody, including his loved ones, into essentially soul gasoline called Argent Energy. And then he was so angered by this that he went to hell and battled for hundreds of thousands of years. And then he got picked up by the Night Sentinels, where he essentially became a demigod known as the Doomslayer. And then he proceeded to fight the demons again, and then fight them for another hundreds of thousands of years. To the point that, like, his battle with the demons is, like, of multiversal biblical level proportions. And the thing is, bro, like, there is no afterlife that will unite him with his loved ones, so he has no interest in an afterlife. His loved ones are not just gone, they are fundamentally, like, they no longer exist anymore. He cannot find them. The only way that he could theoretically find them is if he went to, like, another dimension and found them in, like, a multiversal type of thing. But I don't think that's where we're gonna go, because they would just be a copy of what he had, not actually what he has. So, really, Doomslayer not only lost his family, he lost everything, and he's taking out the demons that took that away from him, including their god known as Devath, who is whole thing, burn it all down. Burn it all down. Yes, 100%. Tai Lung. Hear me out, bro. Imagine you were dropped off at a Kung Fu academy, and you were raised by the master known as Master Sifu. You are raised your entire life to be essentially martial arts Jesus, otherwise known as the Dragon Warrior. You train your entire life, you're absolutely smoking everybody. You are the man, you are the king of the coop, you are the Brewski, the one, the Dragon Warrior. And then you are literally the only one that is first selection. So you get brought up by essentially your dad to what is essentially your martial arts grandpa in Master Oogway, this decrepit looking turtle. Okay, you get it brought up here thinking, hey, yo, I'm literally the best martial artist there is. I am the Dragon Warrior. Just give me the scroll, little bro, okay? You go there, and then Master Oogway comes up and is like, vibe check. He no pass. Your entire life wasted. I'm not even kidding you, bro. Like, but Tai Lung is so justified to be angry. Even does it really hit him that the entirety of the Dragon Warrior being picked is literally just a vibe? Like, you don't even have to train martial arts. Well, I mean, like, no, you don't. No, you don't. Poe didn't know any. But, brother, becoming the Dragon Warrior is something you could have lived a completely normal life. You didn't have to dedicate your life to anything. Okay? You didn't have to dedicate your life to martial arts. In fact, it's actually stupid that you did. Because all you had to do was just wait for plot armor to come in and choose you, and then boom, you're it. And then Tai Lung goes to prison. Well, I mean, like, he did some other stuff. Yeah, bro, he had a rowdy night where he destroyed a bunch of stuff in the Valley of Peace, which is, like, top 10 most poorly named places of all time. It gets destroyed every other week. Valley of Peace. Stop it, bro. Valley of Misdemeanors is what I'm gonna call it, my man. Okay? And then he gets locked in jail for decades. I'm sorry, bro. If I trained my entire life to be the Dragon Warrior, only to get rejected purely off vibes, and I'm given no information on why I was rejected, and my dad goes, oh, that's crazy. I'm so sorry. Anyways, bye, son. Hi, Master Oogway. I would crash out too. Now, a bit much. Yeah, a bit much. Admittedly, a bit much. But 100% deserved a good crash out session. I'm gonna put it in a bit much though. Yuji Itadori. Brother, imagine getting possessed by a 1,000-year-old it's not a curse, but like he's the king of curses in Sukuna. Okay? You get possessed, and then he takes over your body and murks literally thousands of people with your body. Your bodily autonomy was stripped from you. And then you find out that your entire conception happened because a 1,000-year-old sorcerer decided to put his brain in the brain of your mom so he could be taken from the back for how long? Like I want to know, like, was it the first try that Kenjaku got a baby, or like how, like the level of dedication that Kenjaku had to have for that plan? For anyone who doesn't know, bro, okay. Kenjaku is a 1,000-year-old sorcerer who wanted to create a vessel that could have Sukuna in him. No diddy. That Sukuna could be inside of. No diddy. Okay, so what he decided was to wait for the reincarnation of Sukuna's unborn brother, and then went to him, found out that he was too old and he already had a kid. So what he decided to do was cosplay as his wife, okay? And then strolled up to him with stitches on his forehead because now his brain is inside of this woman. And then he proceeds to get clapped and have a baby, and that baby becomes Yuji Itadori. What type of plan is this? Like what? I'm sorry. This is an absolutely absurd plan, and it's crazy that it worked. And then Yuji finds this all out, and then becomes the vessel for Sukuna, and then later on gets his friend murked, another friend iced, his sensei gone. Yeah, bro, I'm sorry, and he still tried to be the bigger person in the end. Yuji is 100% justified. 100% justified, not even a remote question in my mind. Thorfinn from Vinland Saga. The beauty of Thorfinn's character is I think it takes the stereotypical, like, anime trope of revenge and takes it and tries to tell a different story with it. Where you have all these characters where their entire story arc hinges on them being able to get revenge and is them growing strong enough to take revenge. You have Thorfinn. And Thorfinn, at least in season 1, it follows that trope. It is somebody that lost their father by this man named Askeladd, and Askeladd takes him in, beats him up, trains him to be a living soldier, and he does all of this under the assumption that he's going to be the one to avenge his father's death. Okay, that's the whole point of his character. And then Thorfinn realizes, like near the tail end, that, wait a minute, I'm like, maybe my growth that I'm looking for is finding a purpose outside of revenge. Who am I if you strip me of my purpose? And then we have this character switch between Thorfinn and like the main central antagonist, and we get a good character study of what happens when revenge is not your purpose. All this bad stuff was done to you. What do you choose to become if revenge is no longer a tool? And I think that is a good contrast with somebody like a Guts, where Guts' entire character is him trying to become strong enough where he can take on Griffith. And then when you have somebody like a Thorfinn, and Thorfinn already lost the person that took out, that he should have had revenge on. And it's him growing as a person to not require that revenge anymore and to let go. And the way that he will avenge his father is to become the man that his father always wanted him to be, and thus honoring him even in death. And I'm going to be real here, dog. That's like beautiful. I'm going to put it in Justified, dude. I'm going to put it in Justified just so I can bring it up. When we're talking about revenge, let's throw in a wholesome one. Why not? We need a little bit of wholesome news in our life, my man. I'm gonna put it in Justified. Squidward, brother. I'm sorry. Squidward is 100% justified not to like SpongeBob. I'm sorry. Y'all will bring it up being like, oh, SpongeBob kind of a bro though. SpongeBob kind of a bro. Brother, SpongeBob is a top 10 worst neighbor of all time. SpongeBob's constantly running through your yard, partying till 7 o'clock in the morning with a damn jellyfish. He has the most annoying friend of all time. You work with the dang dude, and he won't stop bothering you. Now, I'm not saying that Squidward also isn't like an annoying little condescending person. That's not what I'm saying. But oh my goodness, bro, SpongeBob is brother. If SpongeBob was my neighbor, I would start an 808 just to ruin his life. I'm not kidding you. That is how annoying he is to me. Like, is there a few things that Squidward does that maybe crosses a line here and there? I mean, like, nothing that, like, SpongeBob hasn't already done and, like, across that kind of line. Like, I'm sorry, SpongeBob breaks into his house, like, all the time. I'm sorry, like, no. Like, Squidward is acceptable cost is what if I'm gonna be real here. I think acceptable cost is more than fair, my man. The Punisher. Now, this one's like your stereotypical, the Punisher lost his family, and he decides to be the solution to this type of problem by taking out all the people that are even loosely related into the demise of his family. And the thing that I like about the Punisher is that he is a very, he's a morally gray character in terms of, like, how brutal he can be, but the core hinge that his character is on, it's justifiable. Like, I will remind you of this, bro. The whole superheroes not getting rid of their villains thing is only because when they were making comic books, they had to come up with a reason for why villains kept on coming back. I need you to understand that. The whole reason why in your mind it's bad to get rid of villains is because in the comic book industry, they had to come up with a reason to save budget. Okay? No, if somebody ices your family, you are fully justified to get rid of them. I don't understand how that's even remotely controversial. And I'm sorry, bro. Like, punish, like, yeah, but he has some collateral damage. I'm sorry, it's acceptable cost for what the Punisher has gone through and who he's facing. I'm sorry, it ranges from, like, neighborhood thugs to, like, the literal Illuminati. I'm putting it in acceptable cost. And there you go. That are characters that have revenge that is justified. If you enjoyed this video, please consider like, comment, and subscribe. We're trying to get to 500,000 subscribers before the end of the year. And I just want to say this. Thank you to everybody who's joined so far. We are actually about to hit 300,000. That's absolutely insane. I made a lore video last week, and I just wanted to get back into making lore videos, and that did absolutely insane. That makes me feel good. I do get worried as a creator, like, doing stuff that is outside of the norm, because, you know, sometimes you get comfortable making the content that you make. And making some old new stuff and it doing well, it feels really good, and it encouraged me to make that new stuff. That doesn't mean I'm making the tier list, but it does mean a Doom lore video is... I'm more encouraged to do stuff like that and other types of lore and explain videos. And again, thank you everybody who supports the channel. It means the absolute most to me. And I will see you all in the next one. Adios, guys.